Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be presenting today at the Role of Art and Culture Capital in Rural Innovation and Entrepreneurship Research Conference. Here you have an overview of our presentation, our proposal. This is a collaboration effort between Sitting Bull College and South Dakota State University. The proposal title is, How Might Lakota Culture Capital Benefit Art and Design Students Learning to Work in Rural Communities? So here you have an overview of what we're proposing. This is the course and the time outline that is currently set for South Dakota State Student School of Design. So all the different design groups, majors, whether it be interior design, graphic design, architecture, landscape architecture, fine art, those students are going to be grouped together, 120 of them, everybody who's entering the program, and they're following this for their very first course in Design 110. And this gives you an overview of the weeks, the pedagogy schedule of what they're going to be working on. The project is to get students from SDSU in all these different departments of the School of Art and Design to construct a project that hopefully is something that will be built in the future. But nevertheless, it gives them an actual space where the project's going to be and people that they're going to be working with that are of a different culture. So it's an opportunity for the program to develop more equitable approaches in school design because now their students are producing work for another culture. Some of the students are Native American, Lakota, Dakota, but majority of them are not. So this gives them an opportunity to think about design principles regardless of what design major that they're actually pursuing for another culture in the area. So they actually have a site that they're going to be working on, and they're actually going to have people that are Lakota and Dakota culture from Standing Rock Reservation that they're going to be collaborating with to produce this end project. So some of the things that are of concern with this project space would be, food sovereignty, right? The culinary arts, and then also landscape architecture. The students are going to have to think about what does landscape architecture look like on a reservation. And then they might look at, instead of individual houses, community projects, community spaces. They might look at other cultures from North Dakota, 3 affiliated tribes, and they might get into like food forests, things like that, edible perennials, more functional landscape design. And these are all just theoretical based on what we are currently seeing, but it gets them thinking about, so how with this demographic is landscape architecture or architecture in general, graphic design, going to be different, right? So they're going to have to make those connections. They're going to have to know about the culture and collaborate effectively. This is something that builds a lot of soft skills that might not necessarily be developed otherwise within a program, because when they graduate, they're going to have some kind of piece that they can showcase, that they can collaborate effectively with a group of other people that are specialists within other areas to produce an end project for a different demographic, a different culture within their area of expertise. So it goes into being equitable and collaborating with different groups. And it also gives the School of Design at SDSU an opportunity to integrate more Lakota Dakota culture from the area. So it has an opportunity for the program in and of itself to be more equitable, and also for the students to make real, genuine connections with tribal people, tribal artists for a project that then will be theoretically developed on that site. And hopefully, eventually, it becomes something that actually is built. So when they look at architectural design, they'll have to look at one of the criteria is based on different tribal people of saying we want an outdoor space to cook, because that would have been more traditional for the people. And it also addresses one of our major concerns, which is food sovereignty and healthy nutrition, right? So they're going to take these common problems that we're seeing on tribal land, and then they're going to develop a third space area that is focused on like tribal gathering. So what does that look like? What are the spaces going to have to look like? Okay, we're going to have an outdoor kitchen. Maybe the landscape architecture isn't individual like it would be in other areas of the state or with more of a Caucasian population. Maybe it's going to be more collaborative and communicative. So maybe there'll be edible perennials or food forests that are developed for biodiversity. These are all different components that are of concern within the indigenous population in North and South Dakota. So they're going to have to start thinking about what their demographic is wanting out of this project, and then how to deliver that based on the cultural standards that they're providing them. So they have this opportunity to work with Sitting Bull College. And this is the really, truly amazing part. Because if you look at this course list on the right, these are the courses that we currently offer. Typically, prior to COVID, these would be classes that our students could partake in person, and it's free through the grants that Jen Martell gets already through the college to provide these workshops. So SBC, Sitting Bull College, we do not have an art program. We have, beading 101, and a couple things that are offered that are art-based, but we don't actually have any degree plan, nor do we have that offered besides beading on a continual basis, right? The reason why we can provide anything is through the grants that Jen already gets, and then we do that at the Visitor Center, which is also located at the college site. And we do all these different workshops to integrate as much Native American culture as possible. This is significant because you're not going to find another university in the state of North or South Dakota, or I would put it out on a limb, anywhere that's teaching a lot of Native American art besides maybe IAIA or United Tribes up in Bismarck. But even those places don't have a program where you can get an associate's degree in Native American art, or it might be more contemporary based than traditional. These workshops combine both those worlds in all different mediums within Native American culture here in South Dakota, North Dakota, Lakota, Dakota. So here's a list of that, and this is what we can offer. And currently, we have the opportunity for students from SDSU to take all of these through Zoom. So they have an opportunity to meet Indigenous artists teaching how to make baba, how to make ledger art, drums, moccasins, pottery, Mandan Hidatsa pottery, the pottery from this area, regalia, ribbon shirts, all different types of beading. This is everything that we're currently offering, not necessarily everything that we have offered before in the past, but right now during this cycle, what we're currently offering. Quill work, all these great opportunities that unless they had an opportunity to already have these connections, they would probably never learn otherwise. So they're taking all these different design principles within Lakota Dakota culture and getting more acclimated to them. So that way, when they can produce this end result, it's going to be more equitable and more developed for the individual population. A lot of times when we see architecture, we might see a design principle that has these symbolisms of the tribe, but not necessarily the understanding of how the space would function with different tribal people opposed to, what they're currently used to working with. So it gives them an opportunity of how to learn about all these different designs, meet Native American artists, and also understand how tribal, interactions play when developing this third space. Here on the left is what South Dakota State is doing currently with their design class. This kind of goes over the objectives, methods, conclusion, all the different components that we're trying to keep building and scaffolding. This is a huge project, and this is the foundation work for that. But eventually, it's going to build and build and build, and with additional funding, it's going to be possible, hopefully, to actually have the students have the opportunity to come out to Standing Rock and take in these classes in person, and also hopefully maybe develop the space that they are already theoretically designing. So here is the visitor center. This bottom section right here is where we currently hold majority of our art classes. This is kind of an outdoor medicine wheel section for gatherings. There's been buffalo cookouts and things like that. Also, my pottery courses that I teach, I do out here, and it's an outdoor space that we do over the summertime when we're making Mandan Hidatsa pottery, and then we'll do an actual outdoor firing. So we have classes already that are integrated inside and outside, and with a third space, it's looking at not necessarily SDSU making a teepee for SBC. We don't need that, right? But we need them to design the same principles that go into that teepee concept, whether it be the amount of poles used, the shape, how the space functions, also the ability for that space to be constructed or deconstructed. So if that is an idea that's going into a room to supply art opportunities for the different communities of Standing Rock in rural America, in rural South Dakota, it would take those concepts with what they have for skills for architecture and design to create what that would look like. Now, it wouldn't be the exact thing, but it would have the same concepts and components, but in a 21st century application that then can be explained and produced, and then we could see how that could be deconstructed, moved to another community, constructed, offer art courses, deconstructed, and then move back on site. That's the kind of components that we want with this collaboration, is how do we infuse culture, tradition with modern day application with the help of SDSU and our help with them on cultural components of art and society. And then they produce that with this project. And then here is the site here. There's another building here where we do hides. This is kind of overlooking the actual space that comes out here and down here that would be theoretically developed. We have teepees in the background. There's a lot of cultural components that we do here at the visitor center. So this is the site. So they know, like, this is for a real client. They have all these opportunities to collaborate with Native American artists in all these different components. So they get an idea of what sovereignty means, what nation building means, right? And then the design principles and what we're currently trying to address on Standing Rock through this project. So what are some of the biggest things that are issues right now on reservations, and how can the space provide that to address those issues? And this is kind of the overview and what I've already explained. So the students at SDSU students will have the opportunity, and they'll be asking themselves these questions. So how do tribal people interact in communities in third spaces? So they have to look at how spaces are going to be utilized and what are common practices within Native American culture. So whether it be offerings, things like that, whether there's a space for like a powwow wachipi, or whether there be a place for sweat, or whether there be a place for community activity. One thing very common is food, so we're thinking outdoor kitchen design, also constructed classrooms that model the actual architect of the people that can be constructed on site to provide additional art courses, so we can also take our classes more outside and interact with those spaces on a more natural level that would model a historical community space. And then, hopefully these are the ideas and the questions that our students start to generate through this process. And then they can really start collaborating and developing something really great. Here we have the three people that are mostly involved, although there's a lot of different artists and a lot of the SDSU community, Jen Martell, Sitting Bull College, and our artists here, and then all the students that are going to be impacted by this project every single year. So every single student that is a freshman at SDSU is going to have the opportunity to interact with this project for years to come, which is roughly, I think, around this year's 120, and it'd fluctuate probably. I'm giving, like maybe 20 students, give or take. So it gives you an idea of the impact that this could actually have for a lot of students who wouldn't have the chance otherwise to make these genuine connections with tribal people that can help build their understanding of whatever content within the arts they're pursuing. Here's an example of some of the workshops that we have. Here's me right here teaching medicine shields, and then we have ribbon skirts. This right here is porcupine quills for quill working. Some of these were what we've already done in the past, so you'll see them in person participation, beading classes right here with Mrs. Kosei, and then drum making, medicine shields, beading hats. Also here kind of goes into our food sovereignty, the arts of the food in the area. to address a lot of the concerns regarding health. This is the pottery and the clay making course. And then you get into what we're currently doing so we can still keep offering our courses. So you'll see our Zoom links here that students link on, and then we produce a project and go through, and then we have a Q&A afterwards. So that's kind of how we've been able to provide what we've already been doing during this time period. And then here's just a short little clip of all the students that have partaken in it. This is for one class. So all the classes that we have offered, we usually have about 10 to 15 students from SDSU, and throughout the entire course, it'll cover all 120 of the students. And they get to choose what class that most interests them based on whatever their degree plan is. And then we have done a pre-assessment, and then we'll do a post-assessment using a Likert scale with several questions. Our pre-assessment, I believe, was 10 questions. And then we're going to transcribe and code those so there's actual measurable data that we can use. And hopefully in the future, we'll be able to actually go through like publication on our findings with this, because I think it's huge, an opportunity for a college that wouldn't have these connections otherwise to provide that for their students through their collaboration with Sitting Bull College, and also Sitting Bull College not having an art program to be able to provide more opportunities for students, both East River, West River, tribal, non-tribal, native, non-native, people in general with students. So and that's one of the biggest issues right now that we see is this equitable approach, right? So we have to look at what we need to offer within our courses, whether it be the School of Design or other places too, to bridge this gap. And the best way to go about that is through the arts. And this provides that collaboration needed to make that happen. So it is good on so many different levels, and definitely something to consider when we produce this proposal and go further. So other than that, my name is Derek Stewart. I'm a professor at Sitting Bull College. I'm also the disabilities coordinator. Bachelor's in art education, actually from SDSU. So that makes this so much more rewarding to be able to actually be a part of the teaching process, also in an area that's underdeveloped. And it's not just underdeveloped there, it's underdeveloped everywhere, especially in South Dakota, North Dakota, and even at TCU's tribal colleges and universities, because we don't necessarily have an actual art program. So, we provide what we can through grants. And through grants, we have the ability also to provide the same opportunities for students off the reservation, non-native, to help develop their understanding of art. And through this connection, we can make great collaboration for our students that are realistic for their future careers in art. Thank you.